we're leaning against our car. It's basically one that works right now, kind of. Um, in our life, we have had a lot of cars because they usually will die after about a year or two of being in our family.
Because we don't buy new cars.
We don't buy new
But
cars.
even when we buy kind of new cars, they still die pretty quickly.
Right.
They just don't like us. Cars don't like us.
We've basically had a lot of problems over the years with vehicles. And I tell you what, it can be a weird thing. Have you ever prayed and said, God, I need you to, be a hero for me in this area? And then it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, somebody else that you know says something like, oh man, God, I need him to be a hero for me, and he brought this lady to me who bought me a new car. This is not even a lie, actually. I have a friend of mine who, I swear, the amount of times we've had difficulty and problems with vehicles and just needing a miracle, and then this guy basically tells me, yeah, some lady came up and said the Lord told me to buy you a brand new car. So they went down to the dealership and she bought him a brand new car. I'm thinking, where are those people in our life? Like, for real? Like,
Why doesn't it seem like sometimes that God's kind of unfair?
Yes.
Yes. I tell you, I had it not with cars. You know my story? Okay, I'm pregnant with number 8 at the time, not now. At the time, pregnant with number 8, and actually he was born. He was already born. So number 8 was already born, and his name is Joseph. He's born. My due date was right around May 1st, which is the feast of Saint Joseph, one of the 2 feasts of Saint Joseph. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. I mean, here's my prayer. God, I have given you my body so many times. Could you please, just to delight me, could you please let Joseph be born on May 1st? Was he?
Nope.
May 6th. So you can say, okay, well, it's in the octave of the feast, but whatever. I wanted May 1st. So then, shortly after he was born, someone came up to me, and they had a grandson that was born, and his name was Joseph. And he was born. Guess it, May 1st. And I remember I was talking to this woman about her grandson, and she's like, oh, my daughter just prayed and prayed and prayed that God would let him be born on May 1st, and he was. And I was like, really? Her first? God, really? You gave her request after her first baby. This is her first baby. This is my 8th. Don't you think I deserve a little slack here? Don't you think I deserve to have my prayer answered?
Yeah.
But you know what? God answered. He talked to me about this. You know what he said to me?
What did he say?
He's like, Linda, she needed that. She needed that to build her faith. You've walked with me for a long time. I just expect you to handle the things that come to you. I expect, like a big child. Like, the same way we look at our kids, we pamper the babies. But when they get older, it's like, no, I expect you to be able to clean your own room. I'm not cleaning your room for you. You can clean it yourself. And I think that was the kind of the word that the Lord just said. He's not trying to punish me by not letting me have my way this way. It's just that he knows I don't need it. He just wants me to be obedient. He wants me to follow him, regardless of the fact that I don't get everything I want.
Do you think that the Lord would want for us to have a better vehicle, though?
I would hope that the Lord would want us to have a better vehicle, because I am too old and too tired to deal with car problems.
Me too.
I hate it.
You know what's interesting, though, is that the vehicle scenario, we often feel like whenever we go somewhere to get a vehicle, that there's like this neon sign on our heads that says, Sucker.
We are so bad.
And I often think to myself, what I need is someone to come buy a particular thing of mine as if it were me. I need that kind of person to come and purchase something.
Oh, you want a sucker to come buy something of ours? What are we selling?
Well, like if we were to sell like this vehicle, for example. The thing is that I think that God works like that. And it might feel like it's unfair and that he doesn't care, but ultimately the way this is that God is inviting us to be saints and not necessarily to be driving around in brand new cars all the time.
And get every little prayer request answered exactly the way we want it.
The real story for me has been the story of my grandmother, Arda, who was blind and had never seen me. I don't remember if I've shared this story with you or not, but basically I used to pray as a small child that she would be healed because I heard the stories of Jesus healing people, and I knew that he could. And I remember as a little boy asking Jesus to heal my grandmother because my grandma loved Jesus. So why wouldn't you heal this faithful woman? And as a little child, I felt like Jesus spoke to my heart even, and he said no. And it was such a weird thing for me. And so I asked why, and he said, because I want the first person for her to see to be me. And that brought me such consolation. And, you know, I didn't fully understand the whys, but that word was enough to satisfy me that it was enough. And I think that's maybe a great message for all of us, is that maybe the word that it's given doesn't really answer all of our questions, and but knowing that he is there and is going to give to us what we need, that is enough, and that we're gonna be better for it in the long haul. Like, it comes down to trust ultimately.
Well, I think is it the Israelites in the wilderness. God didn't provide them with 40 years worth of bread in one time. He gave them manna daily.
Yeah.
Every day they were to expect God would provide once again for another dose of bread. And so that's it. That's the manna. It's the little bits that we get on a little basis. And even though we certainly would love to have a good dumping of gifts and grace and answered prayers,
Right.
and that does come sometimes, but it is trust. Keep us going to him. He wants us to continue to go to him.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't get the prayers answered the way that you want, I mean, you can trust that God loves you as a father, and that he's working on your sanctity, and that his word to you, while it might not be the full explanation, that it's enough. And I think the only way that you'll find that is true is growing in a relationship with him and seeing that he does care for you. Maybe right now you're in a time in your life where you're praying and all the prayers are being answered. You should just know this, that there's probably some people around you who've been praying for the same thing and none of those answers are coming. And so it's important not to always just assume that if people just do it exactly the way that you're doing it, that everything will be the same for them too. See, God's working uniquely in each person's life. And as for this car, it probably won't last too long. There are lights on that probably shouldn't be on, and I'm not sure why they're on. And we've already had a little message from our mechanic saying something like that when it goes again, it's probably going to the great scrap heap in the sky. So we're praying. We're praying for vehicles, and we're praying for the ability to get all our kids to school and to get me to the airport as many times as I need to. But if we don't get some lady coming to my yard saying, you know, the Lord told me to buy you a car, you know what? It's going to be okay, because God
We'll still trust him.
We'll still trust him, and he will provide for us, and it will be enough. I hope that encourages you. What's your scenario right now? Where are you at? Where are you struggling? What do you need to hear from God? Maybe it's just that he is enough. We'd like to hear your story. If you want to share with us a little bit of the miracles or the ways that God has answered your prayer, given you St. Joseph on St. Joseph's feast day, why don't you send us a message? Linda at CatholicFam.org or Chris at CatholicFam.org. We'd love to be a part of your journey. Let us know how we can encourage you. So, without further ado, au revoir. Hasta luego. Auf Wiedersehen. Arrivederci. Sayonara. Adios. Bye-bye.
Did you say au revoir?
I did say it. Au revoir. I think that's all I got. Ciao.